Way to Leadership. Welcome back. If this is your first time, of course, I'm going to ask you the same question as I do all the time. Please hit the like button. Help promote the channel. We're a strong community of leaders here. And when you subscribe and hit the like button, it costs you nothing. It just helps support the channel. So thank you so much for joining us today. Tonight, we're going to talk about the Leadership Code of Conduct. I have the chat open. I'm not going to be able to look at it like I normally do, but I will from time to time this evening chime in on who's chatting and take a look and give you some shout outs. So I've got it on slow-mo. Thank you to my good friend Thomas, who is teaching me every day how to get better with a live stream from Pathway to Leadership. So thank you very much, Thomas. You've helped me out a lot, and I appreciate that. So let's get right into it. We're going to go ahead and start tonight's topic, which is leadership, the code of conduct. Let's begin by why is a code of conduct important for leaders? Well, and of course you can read this, but I want to touch on some of these things. The leadership team of a corporation is the embodiment of all of the following. It's the embodiment of the company's core values. It's the company's mission, vision, culture, image, and the leadership stands for an example of all the others. Okay? So a code of conduct is the way we want our leaders to perform on a daily basis because they are what everyone else is going to follow in terms of conduct, the way they present themselves, the image of the company, the culture. All of that rests on the shoulders of the corporation's leadership. And wouldn't it make sense to actually write out and take time to define what the actual code of conduct is for the leadership team of any organization, whether you're a church, whether you're a volunteer organization or a corporation for profit? It doesn't matter. When you bring a group of leaders together, it makes sense to have a code of conduct in which this is how you're expect to perform on a daily basis. Oh, again, I forgot about this slide. Please subscribe. Hit the like button. It's important for you to hit the like button to this video because that helps the algorithm push this content out to more and more people, and we can grow as a community. So why is a code of conduct important? The code of conduct is a guide that defines desired behaviors. Everyday operations. So on an everyday operation, we have things that run in our way as leaders, and we have to overcome certain things. And when you have a code of conduct, you can kind of look at that and say, how should I, and I use the term loosely, behave? But the truth of the matter is, yeah, you do have to behave in a certain manner. You have to treat your employees a certain way. You have to treat your customers a certain way. You have to treat your vendors a certain way. And that's an expected way of dealing with the business aspect of the corporation. And unless that's defined, then you have a lot of people that are kind of like straying in different directions, and it can lead to a lot of chaos. How to handle difficult situations. So when a leader gets into a difficult situation, believe me, there's ways that as a corporation or organization, you should be able to define how that situation should be handled. And if you don't communicate it to that leader is going to do, well, what a leader does. They're going to take their past experience and what they think is the right thing to do, and they're going to put it into practice. It might not line up with what you believe, and that's because you don't have a code of conduct. So it's very important. Keep thinking about these as we go through this presentation. Training expectations. So, in some organizations, it's get that person on the line producing income as soon as possible. And some organizations are take the time, make sure that individual is trained to the best of their ability. Some organizations are safety first. Personally, I believe all organizations should be that way, but sometimes they're not. But training should be a big part of the company's leadership code of conduct. How are you expected to treat people? This is a big one. Everybody comes to an organization with different personalities, different ways of communicating, different ways of talking to people. And unless you specifically outline how you want your leadership team to interact with your employees, vendors, and upper level staff, you pretty much are just giving them no margins to operate in, and they can do whatever they want. And that can be kind of scary because in today's day and age where we have so many opportunities to get into a interesting situation by the way we talk or saying the wrong thing, and of course political correctness, and that drives me crazy. And I don't want to go down the John Gagnon rant of political correctness, but it does bother me. We have to be careful how we interact with people, and we have to define in the code of conduct how leadership should approach certain situations. What's a delicate situation? How do you approach it? What's not so delicate? Still maintaining control over the situation, and how to have, I think, the desired effect. And we'll talk about the desired effect a little bit more in a little bit. The code of conduct should state the desired outcomes from all of your interactions. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to read this, and I should have made the font a little bigger, and I apologize for that. So the code of conduct states what desired outcomes you're expecting from all of the interactions throughout the day, whether it be a disciplinary action, whether it be a coaching, whether it be a training. It should outline what is upper level executive management expecting to be the desired outcome during your daily activities. Why is a code of conduct important? Well, training the new leader. Boy, I could tell stories about that, but I'm not going to do that. But training the new leader, the code of conduct, first and foremost, it basically states a bullet point, and then it explains the why. Why do we do things in a certain way? It provides a reference. It's a quick reference to look at that kind of keeps the new leader in line inside the margins as they operate on a daily basis. Identifies the margins that leaders need to operate in. Yeah, I touched on that. It creates an expectation for the employee. So let's look at the employee outside of leadership. When you have defined code of conduct for leaders, then they have an expectation on how they're going to be treated. And also, it's a trickle-down effect. So when they see that code of conduct for leaders, and they understand that, hey, this is the way I'm going to be treated, then there's kind of a nice way to open up a line of communication. Code of conduct helps to promote a healthy organization. It I'm sorry, I just looked at the chat. Yeah, Elliot, great. You're losing weight because you hit the like button. Elliot says, cost me 2 calories pressing that like button. You're welcome. And I thank you, sir. All right. So, why is a code of conduct important? It helps to promote a healthy organization. Okay. And again, the last bullet point on this slide is it improves communication. So it sets those boundaries of what we operate in, and nothing's ever perfect. I'm not saying a code of conduct solves everything, but it certainly does help, especially because we know that every single organization is going to train new leaders. They're going to bring new leaders into the organization as it grows, as it develops. There's more opportunities. And with that code of conduct, it creates that foundation in which all the leaders can learn and grow with. So, what's an example of a code of conduct? Well, I listed here some examples that I've seen as I researched other corporations. These are some of the bullet points that they had in theirs. One common one is treat others as you want to be treated. That's a no-brainer. I think most of us grew up hearing that over and over. But the funny thing is, putting it into practice is not as easy as everyone would seem because you have to be the boss. And I use that term lightly. Sometimes you do have to take control and you have to be authoritative. But yet, you can still be like that and treat others the way that you would expect to be treated. Never discipline someone in public. I see this in a lot of organizations. They state that. There's nothing worse. Number one, if you're the right employee, there's nothing worse than knowing that you made a mistake. Okay, that you could have avoided, but you made that mistake. And then you're going to compound that by being chastised in public. This is my personal belief, is never discipline in public, always pull someone aside and have a one-on-one coaching session. Listen more and talk less. This is an upcoming video of on Pathway to Leadership that I'm working on now is called How to Spot a Fraud Leader or a Fake Leader. I haven't figured out which way I'm going to define that. Listen more and talk less. So the reason why I just referenced that video that I'm working on is a lot of fake leaders will talk so much to make themselves sound impressive that they never listen. If you choose to use this one in your code of conduct, be very specific so there's no ambiguity. Allow the conversation to develop without interruption. And that's tough, especially when you're in a position of leadership and you have the knowledge and you've gotten enough information to offer the solution. Many of us, myself, very guilty, won't let the other person finish explaining the problem or the issue, and we're already offering a solution before they have the opportunity to finish. And what's detrimental about that is you're cutting that person off. And you're not allowing them the opportunity to get it off their chest or give the whole situation fully to you. And you're kind of giving them a halvesies. So it's really important that we learn in leadership to take the time to listen. Allow the other person to finish the communication, whether we have enough information or not, and then at the end, offer the solutions, if we have them at that point. Be consistent in all that you do. Boy, there's nothing worse than going to work every day and you never know what kind of mood your boss is going to be in. They could be happy. They could be sad. Today they could ream you out. Tomorrow they're patting you on the back. You're a piece of gold. You're a piece of. Edit that later. There's nothing worse than going to work every day and not knowing what to expect from the people above you. So it's very important that your leadership team is consistent every day in everything that they do. Do what's right even when no one is watching. I know a lot of businesses that I've worked with, this is one that is spoken of, but sometimes they need to spend some time teaching it. Teaching the real world situations of doing what's right even when no one's watching. Never ask others to do something you're not willing to do yourself. So I think a true leader understands that they're not above the work that they're asking their followers to do. That was something I learned in the service, that my drill instructor, or training instructor, if you whatever you wanted to call him, but there was the big bad boy in the big bad hat that used to like to yell at me a lot. Would show me how to do something once, and he'd show me how to do it the right way. And I was expected to do it the right way, therefore, after. And I would be corrected if I didn't do it right a few times after. But the number one thing is they taught us through doing it themselves. This is the way I want you to do it. And then now rinse and repeat. So there's a lot to be said about never asking others to do something you're not willing to do yourself. And I like this one. This one struck me kind of funny, but you have to admit it does make sense. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I think that as we get closer to the end of tonight's broadcast, we might open that one up for discussion, because I'm sure there's a lot of stories we can talk about, yeah, I can do that, but should I? So how to develop your code of conduct. So if you're a company, organization, group, and you're looking at how should I begin the process, well, the best way to do this is first define what your company's core values are, what your company's culture is, and what's the image you desire. Gather your current leadership and start workshopping with them. That's really important, because your current leaders that have been with the organization for a while have already made a lot of mistakes. And if they said they haven't, well, I'll tell you, they have. We all have as leaders. And we have to pull from that experience. And when you're starting to gather that information, you can start to help develop what's most important for your organization, and through the eyes of our current leadership. Survey the other staff members in the company. How do they feel about leadership? What would they change? What do they feel should be a code of conduct? Because in the end, you want something positive. You don't want to flip the whole company over unless it's operating, drastically crazy. You do want as much input as possible, because it is part of your culture, values, and the image you're trying to portray. How about this? You can go online. Any publicly owned, in other words, if they have stocks that you can buy into, they publish their code of conduct, mostly on their websites. So Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Google, some of the other major corporations, you should take time and research what their code of conduct is. A lot of them have two codes of conduct. Not that they conflict, but there's a code of conduct for leadership, code of conduct for employees, code of conduct of doing business with outside organizations. That's a good key right there. Keep it simple. So for the most part, the research that I've done is you should keep your code of conduct bullet points between 5 and 8. No more than that. Now, the training that goes behind every bullet point should be extremely intense. You don't want any ambiguity in that. But the bullet points should be about 5 to 8, depending on the size and how in depth your corporation is. Oh, look back at yourself. Look back at yourself when you first became a leader and the mistakes that you made or the questions that you might have had when you became a leader in a new organization or the organization that you're in. And think about all the questions that you had and how you wanted to do a good job, but you didn't really know where the margins were on how you operated every day. Providing training on each point, and I can't stress that enough. So the end goal is when you do have a code of conduct, you do want to post it all over the organization so everyone can see it. But you want to be able to provide training on every single point, and in-depth training that explains the why this is so important. So, for example, if you were to turn around and say, I want you to treat others the way that you would like to be treated, that training has to incorporate all the aspects of dealing with the employee, whether it be discipline, whether it be promotions, annual reviews. How would you want to be treated if you were getting an annual review, being coached, being corrected because you did something wrong? Those elements all need to be in the training. So I don't want you to think that developing a code of conduct is just simply putting 8 things on a piece of paper and saying, this is how I expect you to act on a daily basis. Those are 8 bullet points to remind the leader that, hey, I've had training on all of these elements, and I understand fully, without ambiguity, how I'm supposed to operate within the margins. And also, it's not bad to develop training in an overview type of way for the actual employee so that they have an expectation on how they're going to be treated, especially if they're new to the organization. You know, this is how we conduct ourselves on a daily basis. Ensuring that there's no ambiguity. Yes, when you put that training together, make sure you cover all the bases. No, you're not going to be able to cover every single thing that or situation that's going to come up, but you can definitely cover a lot of them and leave that leader in a sense that they understand what that all means. Keep the code between 5 and 8 points. What's very important is advertise this. Advertise this to your customers, your vendors, to the employees. Have it all around the organization that it can be viewed. Put it in the restrooms. Okay? That's not a bad idea either. I see a lot of restrooms that have cork boards and little notes and things up there and what have you. It's not bad to turn around and remind everybody in the company that there is a leadership code of conduct. Make it available online also. So if you have an intranet, it would be nice to have easy access to that because not all decisions and conflicts happen during the 9 to 5 business hours. A lot of them can happen after business hours. So one thing I like to teach at Pathway to Leadership is when you go down the path of leadership, it doesn't end when you get home at night. When you decide that leadership is something that you want to pursue, that is a life-changing event. You now are a leader at work, you're a leader at home, you're a leader no matter where you are. Okay? You're not just, I'm a 9 to 5 leader. That's a fake leader. That's someone just pulling in a paycheck, doing what they're supposed to, and moving ahead within the corporate ladder. A true leader is someone that lives the life of a leader, which is on and off the clock at all times. It's not an easy path. Never said it was. But that is what a true leader is. That's what separates true leaders from fake leaders. Is someone that understands that when I'm off the clock, when I'm away from work, I still conduct myself as a leader. And having a code of conduct, not only in the organization, but for yourself, is so important. Because once you start living the code of conduct of a leader personally, you're going further and further down the path to becoming a lot better at leadership. So, final thoughts. I know this was a quick one tonight, but I am going to open it up to the chat and we'll talk more about this. But final thoughts. Your leadership team deserves a well-written code of conduct. Excuse me. They deserve it. Because I don't think anybody gets into the leadership cycle of an organization saying, I want to fail. They want to succeed. But unless you're willing to put the time and effort into a code of conduct that draws those margins and gives that leader expectations of where they operate, then you're actually failing your leadership. What you're saying, in essence, is I've promoted you to a leadership position. You take it from here, and if you fail, well, you fail. So I see in too many organizations that don't provide the support to leadership in training, in backing, in code of conduct. And this is a very big missing element. And I wish more organizations would pay more attention to this and create that code of conduct, because that's a stepping stone to what that leader needs. No, leaders never show up fully developed and ready to go. And I don't care if you've got 20 years of experience and touching base on experience. The first thing I try to find out when someone tells me that they've got 20 years of experience in leadership, or they've got 20 years of experience in the industry, the first thing I ask myself that I need to find out is, do you actually have 20 years of experience? Or did you get 1 year of experience that you repeated 20 times? Think about that. Because in my definition of experience, that is someone that has been in the industry or organization or in leadership for 20 years and has learned and grown for 20 years. Or are you the person that learned how to be a leader once and just kept repeating it year after year after year for 20 years? Just want to keep that in the back of your head. And always think about when you first started out in leadership, or the first time you had major responsibilities. All the questions that must have been going through your head. I mean, I look at myself, and if you watch the video that I posted, the Code of Conduct for Leaders, I mean, I posted that old picture of me with actual youngness and no wrinkles and anything like that. And I actually looked at that picture for a while before I posted it on that video. And I said, my God, 17 years old, I knew nothing. How strange of a world it was back then. But let's open it up. Let's open it up for your questions and comments. Let me go ahead and back up here a little bit. And can you differentiate between code of conduct and core values, and in our case fundamentals? Yes. So core values are more of feeling, spirituality, a connection of spirituality, morals. They're what we keep dear to our hearts. Case fundamentals. I'm not sure what you mean about that, so if you could elaborate on that. I don't want to go down that road, but when it comes to code of conduct is how we physically act. It's the realistic, non spiritual side on how we actually approach operating within our core values. How we actually physically, on a day by day basis, support our mission, how we support our image. Okay, so image, values, those are a spiritual side of the nature of the corporation. When we talk about code of conduct, for instance, if I were to discipline somebody in front of the entire department, okay, that is a physical action that I'm doing that would be outside the code of conduct, which conflicts with our values, the spirituality of the company. I hope that clarifies that. And I am an acorn that someday becomes the oak. Yes, yes, understood. So, yeah, so when we define what a code of conduct is these are the physical activities that are expected, what we consider to be a right physical activity and a wrong physical activity that supports the spiritual side of the company. And I guess that would be a video for a later date when we define what is the spirituality of a company, because a lot of times that can be misinterpreted. But I will say, spirituality of the company is your morals, your values, your image, and conduct is the physical approach that supports those other items. I hope I clarified that as best as I could. Scott Finger, thank you for joining us tonight. Nice to see you there. And if you're watching this on the replay, I really thank you for being with Pathway to Leadership. I'm going to go ahead and change it because you know what I'm going to do next? I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to the channel. Please help support the channel and our community of leaders by liking. Just right below the video, you're going to see that thumbs up. Go ahead and give us a thumbs up. That's great for the algorithm to keep this video pushing out after we sign off tonight. And share with your friends. This is open to everybody. The more people that join, the more people that we can help out and be part of the community. Oh, Scott, yes. Okay, I get you. Yeah, so one of the companies that I work with is using CultureWise. And you know what? I'm going to put that in the description below. I will make a note to make sure that I put that in there to that company that does support CultureWise. And Steve, maybe tomorrow when I talk to you, you could give me the information. I can post that on the descriptions in the video. So CultureWise is a great way to define and help maintain the culture of a company. It's fundamentals that are predetermined by executive leadership that support, I'm going to use that word again, the spirituality of the company. And I think what I'll do is I'll actually do another live broadcast about how CultureWise works and how beneficial it is in how an organization defines its own culture. And so, yes, what it does is it brings fundamental points once a week to the entire organization and where they get to interact with that culture point. And in this organization, there's 25 different ones of them, and they repeat, and people get to interact with them and experience different points of view when it comes to those points. And I wasn't prepared to talk about that this evening, but yeah, so those of you that are watching right now, go ahead and Google CultureWise. I'm sure their website will pop up, and you can look into that for your own organization, your own corporation. And I will, when this video goes public for the replay, I'll make sure that that's in the description below so that you can click on that link and learn about CultureWise. But Going back to culture wise, what's really important is the fact that a code of conduct supports a program like that, because it's the actual physical, again, activities that you're promoting and nurturing through all of your leadership team. So, with that, I think I've taken enough of your time this evening. I really appreciate you being here. I hope to see you on the next Pathway to Leadership. Every week, I'll put out a new video. Usually, it's either Sunday or Monday. I'll post that video. And Tuesdays, now, we've moved our live broadcast to 7 p.m. with questions and answers in the end of the video. One last announcement. We are creating a Discord server. Discord is another social media platform that's going to help support the channel. I will be announcing that in the next couple of weeks, that'll be going live. That's an awesome opportunity to join a platform that supports this channel, supports our community of leaders, and supports a lot of the companies and organizations that are connected with us. So again, I really thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed tonight, and please remember to hit that like thumbs up, subscribe, and please share this video out to your social media so that others can join in and be part of our wonderful, wonderful pathway to leadership. With that, I bid you a good night, and we'll see you next time on Pathway to Leadership.